Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Jayadi if you're new here, and thank you so much for clicking on this video. We haven't done a chit chat video in a little while with the classic pink mic, so welcome back. I have missed you guys, and I have a very exciting video planned for today because today I'm going to give you guys the ultimate guide on how you're going to become a reader this year. Now, this video idea kind of came from people coming up to me all the time, whether it's at work or my friends or my everyday life. I'm somebody who is a loud and proud reader, you guys. I'm obsessed with it. It's basically my entire personality, and a lot of people ask me that, how do you get time to read? I want to become a reader, but I feel like I never have the time to finish a book, or I'm too slow to finish a book, or that it just makes no sense to me at all. And to you I say that's just a bunch of excuses, because I know every single person out there is capable of it. Guys, if you think you don't have the attention span for a book, or if you think books are way too intellectual, those are all straight up myths. If that was the case, reading would definitely not last in my list of hobbies. So truly, my goal for today is to give you guys the perfect guide on how to become a reader. If you are already a reader but you feel like you want to invest more into this hobby, then this video is great for you too. And this video is going to be extremely beginner friendly, so stay tuned if you want some good tips. Going off of my introduction, a lot of people make excuses when it comes to reading, and I hate to say it, guys, but it really is excuses, because I genuinely believe that we all have the same amount of hours in the day. We all have busy schedules, and I know that schedules can change from time to time. Sometimes you really are way too busy to read, and don't get me wrong, that happens to me quite often as well. And the most important thing in that case is to not be hard on yourself. Don't declare yourself as a non-reader just because you went a few months without reading or picking up a book. Doesn't mean that you still don't love that hobby and that you didn't want to make time for it. Sometimes life truly does get busy, but it's about always making the effort to come back to your hobby, knowing that it makes you happy. However, if you feel like you do actually have time but you are kind of making excuses when it comes to it, here are some tips on how you can genuinely make time for reading. Firstly, look at your phone screen time and tell me that it is not ridiculous, because I know mine is. Sometimes it goes up to like 6 hours in a day, and I'm like, how can I be spending so much time on my phone? A lot of that time could genuinely truly be spent towards reading and picking up a book and looking at words on a piece of paper. You guys, it's about just touching grass and realizing that we are the problem, and that social media has some great beauties to it. I know that we all love watching our YouTube videos, our TikTok videos, and that's great. I love doing that too. But it's about balance, and it's about making time for something else that you love as well. My biggest recommendation when it comes to making time is looking at your screen time and trying to swap your screen time for some reading time as well. You know, if you're somebody who reads like books in PDFs or iBook format, then that's great. Then maybe not paying attention to your screen time specifically, but looking at how much time you're maybe spending on social media, just doom scrolling, versus you could have spent that time reading a couple chapters in your book. Even if you're reading like 10 pages every single day, that's not little progress, you guys. That's a lot of progress, and that's 10 pages closer to finishing a book, to falling more in love with the story that you're getting acquainted with, and it genuinely is such a beautiful feeling. Also, if you're somebody with an extremely busy schedule, I recommend on your commute to work reading a book. If you're driving, then you could be listening to an audiobook, or if you're on the train or the bus, you could be just spending that time reading your book, and you have no idea how much progress you will make. When you're just locked in on your regular commute to work, you actually finish quite a huge chunk of it. Like, I used to think, oh, it's only like an hour, I'm not gonna be finishing that much of my book. But no, when you're actually really invested in the story and you're just flipping through the pages because you're on the edge of the seat waiting to know what's happened, then you genuinely will just naturally fly through it. Before going to bed, maybe you like to watch some TV to unwind. Alright, that's great. You should watch TV maybe some days of the week before going to bed, but you could be reading a book some days of the week before going to bed. It's all about that balance, and we all have the same amount of time in our lives, so genuinely make time for reading and it will definitely reward you, make you feel so much better. If you're somebody who thinks that they're a slow reader and that's why they just can't read, guys, we are all naturally slow readers. Even me, somebody who's been reading for many years now, when I am in a reading slump and I come back to reading maybe a month or two later, I pick up a book and I am so slow at it. But it's about not being hard on yourself. That's just natural. Your mind needs time to adjust to it, because I feel like in our society today, we're so used to fast-paced content, especially when it comes to new form of short form videos like TikTok, Instagram reels, all that sort of thing. We're getting all the information we need within maybe 20 seconds or less, and that's what our brains are now naturally used to. So by reading a book, you're actually learning to pace out content and information that you're taking in, which can be a really good practice for your brain. Even if it is slow at the beginning, you guys, be patient, stick with it, and I swear to God, you will get faster at it. When people tell me that they can't understand books because they're too intellectual, you guys, pick up a Colleen Hoover book. Alright, not to shit on Colleen Hoover books, but they're truly just made for entertainment, and there are a lot of other authors like that as well. When you pick up those kinds of books, you'll realize that books are definitely not just for intellectual purposes, you guys. Books can be, even fiction books can be intellectual. Like, fiction books can teach you a lot. Some great examples are classics or literary fictions, such as The Bell Jar, Norwegian Wood, Great Gatsby. All of those I would consider very intellectual books. But then when it comes to like things like Colleen Hoover and all of that, then those are purely made for entertainment, and I'm not trying to bring those books down or bring people down who read those books. Guys, I read both kinds of books and they both bring me just as much entertainment and just as much knowledge, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, you're reading about people and human experiences, and it genuinely is growing your sense of empathy. So I feel like we can learn something from every book, but truly that is not the entire purpose of books, you guys. It is genuinely made to entertain. It's a source of entertainment, and some authors are really amazing at capturing your attention from the get-go. I feel like that's a really hard skill, you guys, because it's so hard to get people's attention really fast these days. So genuinely, when it comes to a book, and if you feel like you don't understand it, give it 50 to 100 pages. I think that's my general guide to you guys. 50 to 100 pages is great. If it's like a shorter book, about 300 pages, then give it 50 pages. If it's a longer book, like 700 to 800 pages, give it the first 100 pages, because that's when it genuinely takes time to build the world, get to know the characters, get to know your setting, what place we're in, what are the emotions. You have to get acquainted with all of that to be fully invested in the story. Even if it's not making any sense to you at the beginning, you feel like you don't understand what the world is, you don't understand what the characters are, the words are a bit confusing on the page, just keep reading and you will see that maybe by page 101 or 150, you'll be like, wow, I'm actually really loving this whole experience. I'm loving the whole journey that this character is taking me on, and you will be so pleasantly surprised, you guys. This brings me to my next point, which is don't compare your reading speed to somebody else's. If somebody is really fast at reading, then that's really great for them. Maybe they've had years of practice to be able to do that, and if you're not at that place right now, don't judge yourself and don't be too harsh on yourself, because you never know, in 3 to 5 years that could be you as well. So just stick with whatever your pace is at the beginning, whatever your speed is. If it takes you a month to finish a book, that's perfectly fine. I know that a lot of people have those monthly reading wrap-ups where they're reading like 20 books in a month, and you feel like, wow, what have I done all month? I only read one book in 1 month. And guys, reading one book in 1 month is just as amazing, and it doesn't make reading any less of your hobby as well. I think that's even a really healthy goal, to read one book a month, because that is 12 books you finish in a whole year. compared to reading no books at all. By starting off at 1 book a month, you can slowly build yourself and maybe go 2 books a month, 3 books a month. You never know what limit you can reach until you start trying as well. As you read books and realize what you like and dislike, if you want to continue being a reader, really just trust your instincts and see what books are truly fitting your personality at the time. And this can change month to month, year to year. It doesn't have any kind of calculation to it because we as individuals are constantly growing and we never know when our taste changes, our preferences change. I really have loved reading literary fiction and coming of age books. I think that'll always remain my all-time favorite genre just because of how you can kind of fit yourself into the character and imagine yourself living such a realistic life and getting some important life lessons and advice out of it. But lately I have been in my fantasy era, and if you had told me that a year or 2 ago, I would have been like, you're joking, because I used to not like fantasy at all. I thought it involved spending way too much time on world building. I don't understand the world, the characters, any of that. But lately at this stage in my life, I really am looking for an escape when it comes to books. I want to escape to another world. I don't want to read about everyday problems. I want to read about things like fairies and vampires and magic, and that's just at the stage in life that I feel like I am at the moment. So know yourself, know what it is that you're feeling in the moment. Don't just read what's trending or whatever your favorite book talker or booktuber is reading. It's really good to have favorite book talkers and booktubers, of course, because you know you can always get recommendations from them that you can genuinely count on. But just because they might be in a certain reading mood doesn't mean that you have to be in that mood as well. You can actually just take things at your own pace. So go according to your personality, go according to your gut feeling at the time, what you're really craving to read, because that is when you genuinely end up finishing books and falling in love with them. Finally, you guys are probably waiting for this part of the video, but I will give you guys some book recommendations to get started. Now, these recommendations are extremely beginner friendly. They're really easy to read, fast paced, so that you can really kick off your reading journey and know exactly where to start. So these book recommendations I've actually categorized into different genres as well, depending on what genre you're in the mood of. So hopefully this really helps you guys to get started somewhere. First recommendation, of course, is for my romance girlies, and some really great fast-paced romance books that I have to recommend you guys is Lynn Painter's young adult romance books. She's really good, you guys. She writes banter so well. There's so much dialogue, so it's easy to fly through. I've honestly rated pretty much most of her books that I've read nothing below 4.5 out of 5 stars. You know that it's going to be a good recommendation. And the 2 books that I have for you guys is Better Than the Movies and Betting on You by Lynn Painter. If you're somebody who wants to begin with non-fiction, honestly guys, I don't know a lot about non-fiction at the moment. When I get into that era, maybe I will have more recommendations for you. But here is a book that was super fast-paced for me personally, and I feel like I genuinely learned a lot from it. I listened to this on audio format because it just felt like somebody was giving me some really great advice about life. So I really recommend 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think. And at the time and place I was at my life in that moment, it was the kind of words I really needed to hear. So have a read through it, have a listen to it if you feel like you resonate with it. The third genre I have is fantasy, and I feel like fantasy is what's really blowing up on BookTube and BookTok. I personally am so obsessed with it at the moment, but I'm almost finished with the ACOTAR series right now. If you don't know what that stands for, it stands for A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I really recommend her writing. It's very fast paced as well. The way she writes descriptions and creates worlds is honestly so amazing and so beautiful. I would be so keen to read her other series as well, but genuinely ACOTAR was so easy to get through. You get so invested in the characters. The plot twists are absolutely insane. You will be on the edge of your seat. I know that as the books progress they get a little bit thicker, but they're so easy to fly through. I genuinely never thought that I could finish a 700 to 800 page book until I read the ACOTAR series, but I did it with so much ease just because of how invested you get in these characters. And guys, Farah and Rysand, best characters ever. If you know, you know. Go out there and get the series. Fourth genre I have is thriller. Guys, thriller I feel like is the best for beginners because it is genuinely so easy to read, and I love the books The Housemaid by Frida McFadden along with Verity by Colleen Hoover. Amazing thriller books. They're turning into movies this year as well, I'm pretty sure, with some really star-studded casts. I feel like they're very similar to each other, so if you like one you will definitely like the other. And genuinely both of these books I finished in either 1 day or 2 days just because of how easy it is to fly through. You just want to know what happens in the end, and I feel like that's the effect that a good thriller book can have on you. The fifth and final genre that I'm going to talk about right now is literary fiction / coming of age books. Like I mentioned before, it's my personal favorite genre of all time. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. I really recommend reading any of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books. I feel like when I started my reading journey, especially during COVID, I got so invested in her books. Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Daisy Jones and the Six, One True Loves, just some very minor examples. Malibu Rising. A lot of her recent books are actually very interconnected with each other. You don't have to read them in any particular order, but you will see some characters are interconnected and you feel like you're also just part of her own little world that she's created. The characters that she talks about are so magnanimous and they have so much depth to them. The characters who are flawed, but you see a part of yourself in them and you can't help but empathize so much. It's really easy to find yourself in those books. Alright guys, and that brings us to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it extremely informative. I feel like this was the perfect beginner's guide to getting into reading, and if you want to make it your hobby this year, then here you go. This is exactly where to start. Make sure to share it around with your friends if you feel like they need a guide like this as well. And please subscribe right now. Give this video a thumbs up if you want to keep seeing more content like this. You guys have no idea how much it will help me out. I would be so happy to create a little community together and keep making amazing content so that we can help one another out. Comment down below what your favorite book is. If you're somebody who hasn't read in a while, comment down below maybe your favorite childhood book, whether it's like Harry Potter or Disney princesses, whatever it is. Any book at any point in your life that has just stuck with you and that story will always mean something special to you. I think that's so beautiful. Other than that, I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your week and I will see you all in the next video. Bye everyone.